Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm back with another optical illusion art lesson for everybody today. So this I have done some of my other ones. I've done kindergarten through fourth grade now. The ones that I teach. If you have not seen them, I've got some examples up over here. I'm finding them real quick. Sorry. Uh, so if you have not seen them, here's some of my examples. Here was what I did for kindergarten. If you want to go back and look for this one, if you wanted to do an optical illusion with positive and negative no-tint design. If you wanted to go and see my first grade, um, this is a simple version of the first grade example. Here's what I did for first grade. It was like once again, you can find complementary colors and you can use other shapes. If you wanted to do a heart, still, it's a pattern. So we have to work on pattern and coloring, and you can't cross the lines. So that's the first grade one. If you've been following along, this is what we did for second grade. In that same video, though, I showed some people how to do this really cool, more marker design for the advanced students that wanted to try something a little bit harder. As we moved on to third grade is where we got a little bit more sophisticated about their patterns and like our positive and negative. We really try to work on complementary colors on this one. So once you hit third grade, I really hit on hard with complementary colors. Now on my computer screen, this looks really much like red and blue. So don't anybody argue with me and say, those aren't complementary colors. Well, you're right. These don't look it. But in my piece of paper, it's blue and orange. Now I've got another one over here, and it's violet or purple and yellow. So this is the third grade lesson that I've got posted up on my YouTube channel. I also have fourth grade optical illusion. We made spheres. But now you guys are all here because you want to see the fifth grade example. So if you look at this one is our fifth grade optical illusion one. My fifth graders like to call these tornadoes or worms. Either way, they like to call them, they look kind of like three-dimensional little tornadoes or worms. This one, boys and girls, it's very time consuming. And if you go slow, it can be very much like a meditation and a relaxation. If you get a little advanced or if you like go a little too fast, it's not going to work. So you've got to take your time. So I've posted and I've said a couple other times in some of these other videos, optical illusions and op art is all about precision and precise. You want to be neat, clean, and as accurate as possible. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get started with this one. Now, the neat thing that I tell my students whenever we do this example, I don't let them do pencil at all. Now, if you wanted to practice, you can practice, and I do let the students. Normally, I show them how to do this, and then I give them about 5 to 6 minutes to practice the design and to practice and show them how to do it with pencil. But then we just jump right into using a pen because it's so much easier to just do the pen the first time and not have to go back. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper. I like to do it long ways or landscape style. And you're going to just draw a kind of a gentle wave. Do not go crazy. So when you're doing this, don't get overboard and do your wave like this. That's not going to be good. So it's not going to be easy. So you want to do a gentle wave. So here you go. As you're doing this, you're just going to go across your piece of paper with a gentle wave. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start on one side, and I'm going to do a gentle wave all the way across. All right. Now, I've done this before with my students to do Sharpies. Sharpies sometimes work pretty good. I just have one of my graphic design or one of my illustration pens. It's a 0.8. It's big enough that I can still get the lines, and it's not as small as like a ballpoint pen or something. After you get to this stage, what you're going to do is you're going to put 6 to 9 dots. If you do too many dots, it's just going to mean that you're going to have more tornadoes or you're going to have more worms, and it's going to be a little bit more time consuming. If you do less than 6, it might not look as optical illusion. I like to tell my students to kind of stay around the 6 to 9, maybe 7 to 10. If you have 13 dots, you've done too many. And if you have 2, that's not enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and space these out. And I'm going to just put little dots throughout here. And I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can space them out in different distance. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's 6. And I'm going to go ahead and put another one a little bit farther up. And 7. All right. Now, here comes the magic. The first section, the first set of little humps that we're going to do is pretty easy. Most people can get these done. Most people can get these, and it's not a problem. What you're going to be thinking about doing is think about a ball that bounces on each of these little like dots, and it has to go straight to the dot. Now, don't crisscross, don't mix your lines, don't do that. So watch. I'm going to start on the edge of my piece of paper, and I'm going to do a little ball that bounces, and it just goes, bounces right to the dot, and then it has to come back up, and it bounces to the next dot. And I'm going to do this first on all of them. Now, I'm going to show you some things that you can do to make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting. But I tell my students, let's go ahead and get our first set done. Okay? Now, I just did these little curves just like that. I know some of mine are a little wonky. It does not matter. It's not going to be a big deal. Now, at the same time, if you wanted to, you can actually curve it upside down. And you can actually do the back side as well. You don't have to. You can just work on your way up one side and then work your way down the other way. But once again, I'm going to do a ball that has to bounce, and it has to touch each one of these. Now, I go kind of slow because I like to think that it has to go straight and bounce. And Mr. Griffin tends to be a little bit sloppy, and his lines get a little bumpy. He can't draw a straight line really well. So, all right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this side. And this is where the fun thing is. You're going to work your way all the way up. Keep on doing bumps. But to make it more dynamic and to make it look like it's flowing, you don't want your arches to just go straight up. That's kind of boring. So let's look real quick on a don't do scenario. So don't do any of these 3. You don't want to just make your humps continue on. You don't want to build up one hump all the way. Now, I am going to show you how to make your hump gets a little bit bigger, but don't just do one all the way. We also don't want to do ice cream. We don't want to do ice cream cones. We're not stacking ice cream cones to these, and we're not going to do rainbows. So if you hear me say rainbow, rainbow is where the line attaches and it's not touching to the point. Ice cream is where you're actually like pulling your points in too high. Okay? I'm going to try to go really slow. Let's look at this one more time. When they do these, each curve is going to have to come back to the same point. Right where the 2 curves meet, they need to be touching. They need to be pointing. And so each time you draw a new line, it needs to come straight back to the new point. You guys have me? All right. So let's go back. Don't do any of these. So let's go ahead and get back to this, and I'll go ahead and do this for a little bit. So it doesn't matter which one of these little ones you want to start on. If you want to make one get bigger and explode out a little bit, you can. If there is no curve next to it, it has to get bigger, meaning it has to get wider. So I'm going to curve out. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back directly to the point. Now, if I wanted to, I could continue on to the right and keep on bouncing. But what's really cool is you can make these worms or these tornadoes get a little bit bigger first, which would then in turn make these get smaller. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to start making this one bigger. There's no curve right next to it, so it has to get bigger. I'm going to come right back. Now, like I said, don't make it too big, but I'm going to do one more. And notice how now my two curves meet right here. And as the point goes up, I'm going to make my new dot, or my new ball has to start bouncing right there. Now, I wouldn't make this too much bigger because then you're running out. Now, if you look, notice how my curve now has looked like it's intersected right here. So the new ball that would bounce over here would actually start right there. You see how as the curve goes up, the ball or the point is actually going to move up with it. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this one a little bit. I could go ahead and keep on going curve and make my ball bounce over here. I'm going to make my ball bounce, but I'm not going to go to the edge yet. I'm actually going to come back. So I'm going to go ahead and make my ball come back. And I'm actually going to make it go back again because now I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. Now, as they get bigger, notice how these guys get smaller. I haven't completely closed off this guy yet, but I am going to do one more time. Now, as you can see, I'm getting really close to closing this guy off. He doesn't have as much space. So I'm going to go ahead and now start building him back up. What's really fun is you could build this guy up for a little bit and then make him explode out. So watch what I'm going to do. I actually talk about don't kill him off. Oh no, he's dying. Now he's going to come back to life. Now you got to continue on with this curve. Do not do these rainbows. So many times I see kids who have this nice little swollen thing right here, and they're doing such a good job. And then all of a sudden right here on the edge, they do the rainbows and they just go boom, boom, boom. And that's what I said not to do. This is not touching the same point. They have to all come back to the same point. Okay? They have to go to the same point. Don't rainbow it. And don't just start doing ice cream cones which go up like that. Okay? All right, I'm going to continue on. So I'm going to keep on making this one get bigger. So I have to go all the way back to where the two curves meet. And I want to make it curved because the more contour lines you can get, the curves, it's going. Now, see how I look like I'm going up? It looks like the point is moving up. So I start right where my two curves meet, and then I curve it up. Now, I'm actually bringing this guy all the way back to life. So watch, I'm going to go ahead, keep on doing. Now, don't make it too much because I don't want to kill this guy off. I am going to do one more. Woo! It goes a little bit more dynamic. It's already starting to get a swole up. I'm going to do this guy for a little bit because I am going to close this guy off. Watch what I'm going to do. Do some curves. Coming all the way back down to that point. I can go ahead. If I want to bring this guy back to life because I can see he's getting a little small. He's getting kind of small, so he's going to come back to life. No, don't kill me off. So he's got to come back to life. Coming around the corner. Don't crisscross your lines. You want to be precise. Now, he's got this open space now. So he's back alive, and he's going to get big again. Watch this. He's going to get real big. Because the other two guys on the left and right, they were like, I've already got big. So I'm going to go ahead, swell up. I kind of have fun with this. The kids kind of laugh at me when I'm making this. I'm like, oh, no. But I kind of like it. So I don't know if any of you adults have seen Mr. Bill. That's what I think of. That's the voice I do a lot of the times in my class. Kids have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm like, oh, no. Oh, I'm Mr. Bill. Oh, sorry about that, guys. All right. And I'm going to keep on going. I just kind of build up randomly. You're going to go all the way up to the edge. Notice how I keep on getting this one bigger, and it's okay to get it bigger. And if it keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that's fine. I can swell it up all the way. As long as I have space, I have to continue making these. So now he's going to come back alive, but notice how he now is curving off to the left. He's curving off to the left a little bit. And this guy can keep on going, but he's going off the edge of the piece of paper. Now this guy wants to come back to life. He's like, "Don't kill me off." Now, can you? I've had students say, "Can you squeeze them off? Can you make them like die technically?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Watch. If you wanted to, I don't really like it, but if you wanted to, you could make one of these two curves, and then you could make this guy curve Now, as you can see, these two are getting really close. So how would you do this? If you're in this turn, watch what I'm going to do. I'm still right where the two curves meet. You cannot do a rainbow. If you've got your lines so close together, do not just draw a line to them. You have to still touch them at the point. So watch how I do this. I do a curve. I know you're like, but Mr. Griffin, it looks like you just did a rainbow. I made sure my line was still in the curve motion, and it still comes back to the point. Right where the two curves meet is where I'm doing it. Now I'm going to bring this guy all the way back to life so he does not completely die out. Now I really, really enjoy this optical illusion lesson. I think it's very meditational. It's very relaxing. It's very fun. It has amazing results once you're all done. Oh, now if you have something like this, look what I just did. I went off the edge of the piece of paper, but I cannot quit. The curve is still there. It's a continuation. So once I go off the edge of the piece of paper, I need to come up to the other point and go off. And I can just go ahead and finish that off if I want to. Now I can do any more, and I don't have any more edges on the other side. And this keeps on going until you're all the way done with the edge of the piece of paper. Now I only have a little bit here. So here's what I'm going to do. I've probably done this for too long already. So let me move on to this one. So this is what I've got going on here. This is a little bit further along than that one. I could work on this for a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this side. So you see how I got the bigger and I made this bigger and I almost closed off some of them by letting them come back to life. That's kind of what that looks like whenever you close them off and let them build back up. So I'm going to work on this for just a little bit. As you can tell, my marker, I think I used a Sharpie for this one, but I'm going to go ahead and continue on with making this. And when you get completely done, I'm going to show you how to color it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and notice how it gets bigger, and then I'm going to do this one. Try your best not to do what Mr. Griffin just did. He made his lines intersect. Guys, this is really fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for you. I know that when I do this with my fifth graders, there's always a couple of students that really enjoy this. They get into it, and they do a great job. And I always have other two students that are like, this is so time-consuming, so boring, I just don't get it. Now, I try my best to encourage them. It's amazing how this lesson is what has actually turned a few fifth graders that I've had completely around into loving art. I had some fifth graders that were not very good at art. And then after this one, it was just so precise and so slow and so meticulous that they actually did such a good job. And they really liked art from that point on. I would show off their artwork and they'd say, look at Johnny. His name wasn't Johnny. Look at Johnny's artwork. Isn't it so amazing? And he would just light up, and I'd love doing that one. So I'm going to continue on with this probably on a different time. Some of you guys might be saying, Mr. Griffin, this is so boring watching you do this. What do we do after we get all done? Well, if you get all done, and then you want to color it, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to my one that I do have finished. So if you look right here, I've got this one finished. Now, this is an advanced coloring scheme for those students that want to go above and beyond. My assignment that I require is I require all my fifth graders to do one color on all of them except for one tornado where they have to do a pattern. Now, the best way to make these three-dimensional is all about value and blending with your colored pencils. So when you blend or do value with your colored pencils, you start off dark. Finding my black, sorry. You start off dark on the inside, and as you're getting out, you're going to start picking up the pressure of your colored pencil, and you just do a little bit of blending, and it kind of is there. So dark inside, and it gets lighter. Now, let's go back to the don't do this page. So whenever you do this, here's the don't do this for coloring. So if you have these and you've done them correctly, And you've got these little curves. I didn't have all my things set up, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right, when you color these, I recommend and I tell my students always, 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 when you're coloring, you need to start and you need to follow your pin marks. So if your pin mark curved up, you need to be coloring upwards. And you need to start off dark, and you follow your pencil or your pen line and you go dark. Do not color just up and down like this. If you want it to look three-dimensional, you cannot cross your lines. You cannot cross your lines and you cannot draw straight lines. You've got to pull it up. You've got to follow along with that curve to really enhance. So you're following the contour of these three-dimensional shapes that you already have. These pin marks right here. That's what's going to make it look really three-dimensional. So if you were wanting to do it in more advanced, I kind of went and transitioned from a pink to a raspberry, from a raspberry to a purple, to a purple to a teal, to green, to a yellow. And now I'm transitioning right here to an orange. So I'm going to try to zoom on a little bit so you guys can see. All right, this last little bit I'm going to show you. I'm working on right here. How I color, if you have a big little, if you have a section right here, you're going to start still on the edge, and it's going to be dark, right close to the edge of the worm, right close to the edge of the tornado. It's going to be dark, 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 dark. And notice how I'm actually kind of like, it's rough too. I'm not drawing it perfect, but I'm following my pin marks. I'm following my pin marks. I'm following my pin marks. I'm going to go all the way up on that side. Now I'm only doing a little bit on this, on the edges, because that's the dark part. I transitioned from an orange to a yellow, and I can go back on the yellow and blend it in a little bit just to kind of make it more impactful. So I'm going to do dark, 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 dark. And how you create the three-dimensional highlights is all about how you transition and how you blend. Now, this is over a couple of days for my fifth graders. They don't do this all in one setting, so I was going a little fast for you guys. You guys can pause it, go back, look at it. Now, what I do at this point is I've picked up my colored pencil a little bit. I've not pushed as hard, and I'm getting it lighter. I kind of like until it almost disappears. It's like a light until it disappears. And that's going to create the blend till you get to the very top, which should be white. So you just kind of leave that highlight so it has where the light would be hitting it. And if you have to go back because you didn't color as dark as Mr. Griffin thinks you should have, maybe you can go back and push a little bit harder. So I'm going to go ahead and do this nice little blend. And if it's a big curve like this, you can actually make it a little bit more drastic and come in even further. And if it's a small one, you don't have to color as much. So it does like this. Guys, I have loved teaching you. I have loved trying to show you this. I hopefully have not bored you with my talking and my going on. Hopefully you guys can see how I'm coloring this. You don't get too bored. Here was the result of the white part. Again, I've got another one where we had started it and I was working my way up. This is the easy one. I have a finished one where each tornado is a different color except for one where you have to do a pattern just to make it more dynamic. And also this shows my students that I see them coloring it. This also forces them not to be able to color it up and down and sideways. So you have to do one where you do a pattern. If you do more, you can transition them to being all sorts of fun little things. Hopefully I'll get this one done and I'll be able to show you that as the thumbnail. All right, guys, love you very much. Have fun. Be safe. Wash your hands. Avoid crowds now that we are here in Missouri, we are in lockdown mode. All right, have fun. Bye-bye.